Have you ever been sitting in a meeting or having a conversation with a professional or even personal, and all of a sudden, something triggers you, and you go from, wait a minute, did this just happen? Did this person just say this to me? What I realized is that every trigger that we have is because we have not closed our emotional trauma, right? So how does that work? It works because we have not been taught how to deal with adversity. And when we aren't taught how to deal with it, we don't know that we have this adversity. So for me, I experienced a lot of trauma young in my life. And when I experienced it on the teeter-totter and the kids dropped off and left me standing there or sitting there, or when I was in a situation where when emotions were involved, I let those emotions, those feelings stay within me. So what that did is when I went into corporate America, anyone that said anything that triggered me, I did not realize that it was from my unresolved emotions. So one day I went to a class. Michelle was in that class, I believe. And he said, emotions buried alive never die. That is from Sigmund Freud. And the reason why is because we did not acknowledge those emotions. We kept those emotions inside of us and never owned the reality of the impact that it has on our true identity. So what I have learned through heart coherence, that we all have in our heart a neural brain, right? We have 40,000 of these neurons that connect to our brain. And what happens is our emotions are tied to that connection between the brain and the heart. We also know that the heart transmits more energy to the brain. And when I say that, they call it electromagnetic. The field of the electromagnetic in our brain determines what actually comes out of our mouth, right? Because what happens is our brain and our heart communicates the emotions. Our emotions are in our heart, and our brain has thoughts. And studies show, and I know, that your emotions overtake any thoughts. So it is important for us to understand how we release emotions. It's important for us to know that we can control those emotions. And which one of these is? What we know is that when we recognize the information that we are sending to our brain impacts how we show up. It impacts our influence. It impacts our perspective and our perseverance. It impacts our clarity. So how do I handle that? I began to look at intentions. Intentions are when we focus on a certain task or goal. So it's important for us to intentionally know what it is we want, and intentionally know our purpose, and intentionally know that we can control our emotions when we know that our emotions are being driven by how we think and how we feel. The other thing is we have what we call intuition. Now, when we think about intuition, it's gut feeling a lot of times, but intuition determines our decision making. Intuition determines how we make those decisions. And if we are in a state of we have not resolved our emotions, what's happening? We're not making good decisions. We're not able to contact and understand that until we let go of those emotions, we will continue to make decisions that are sometimes the greatest decisions. And the other thing we know is our imagination and our innovation. When you were a kid, did you have imaginary friends? You had those imaginary friends because those were who you talked to. Those were your friends. Those were the ones that determine your dreams, right? Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Those were our dreams, right? When we got older, what were we told? You can't do that. What's wrong with you? You have to not have imagination and dreams. You have to be, what's wrong? So we begin to let that go. When we understand that imagination creates our innovation. And so when we have that, so now we have decision making, understanding that, we have imagination and innovation, and then we have what we call intentions. Those three ingredients determine your reality, because how you think and how you feel is your personal reality, right? So what I would do in these situations when I learned that I had all these triggers is to begin to do heart coherence breathing. And when we breathe from our heart, even as we sit in this room, we breathe and let go of the rhythm that determines how our neural heart and our brain heart synchronize, right? And when we do that, what that does is it allows us to have the brain power in the heart power, right? So when we look at that, what do you have there? You have the brain and the heart. And the synergies of the heart and the brain determine who you are. It determines how you operate. It determines that you are whatever you want to be. See, a lot of us believe that, well, I have this fear. But when you have that synchronicity of the brain and the heart, you are creating the synchronicity to be whoever you want to be, to believe in whatever you want to believe. How is that possible? Well, we know that the brain has a lower vibration than the heart. The heart has the brain is 60 times lower than the heart. So when we're operating, you go in a room, you ever been in a room where somebody just takes all your energy? And then you walk in the room and somebody's like, girl, stay, we need you. That's because they have determined that the heart and the brain were synchronized. And when you live in an environment where you have to communicate effectively, when you have to manage your emotions and regulation, you can always pull out that heart and that breathing. It's like, if we wanted to do this, we close your eyes, and as we breathe from our heart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when you exhale, exhale from here. Why you exhaling from there is because you're touching your vagus nerve. And when the goal is that as we in this room together, we can feel the energy. We can feel the vibe. We are able to have a harmonious relationship and have good communications. If you practice that, the next time somebody triggers you, one thing is that what is that emotion about? What is it causing me to have that trigger? And you say, oh no, we're not going there. We're going to erase it right now. I feel it, I see it, and I hear that I need to change and own my emotional controls. Thank you.